Ladies and gentlemen, on today's episode of the AZ Wildcats podcast, we're going to have opinions.
Welcome on in, guys, to Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. This is the AZ Wildcats podcast. I am Damon Fairall. That is Kevin Thomas. And he's already speaking nonsense off the top of the show because everyone knows that you can't have opinions these days. What are you, stupid?
That's not allowed. Yeah, clearly you're not allowed to have opinions. Also, in the offseason, you're supposed to keep it to only factual ball talk. You're not allowed to do any hypotheticals. I found that out recently. People don't like of people not liking the hypotheticals if it's just you only want to talk about, I don't know. There's nothing really to talk. It's the offseason of football and basketball. And so if my point to some people that if you don't know what we're talking about, yesterday Damon and I, we posted and I'll be real, this was my, brain.
It was your brainchild.
Yes, exactly. It was my brainchild. So people don't, shoot your arrows at Damon if he must. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'll happily take these arrows for this podcast all the time, Kevin. You are our benevolent, sweet little baby boy child, and I am the evil bad man that must be stopped at all costs.
And,
so.
I went into Damon and I was like, if we did a start bench cut with players, recent guards, most recent guards, you got Caleb Love, Bennedict Mathurin, and who would be a good third to throw in there to make it difficult for people to choose.
Yeah.
And we landed on Nick Johnson. And so we posted that to Twitter.
Honestly, I feel very vindicated in that.
Yes, you should be.
You asked me who to pick, and I said, I think Nick Johnson would be good. And that kind of sparked the entire debate, I would say, because, I think Caleb Love, in most people's cases, was kind of consensus the bottom on that ring. And that's no disrespect to Caleb Love. Caleb Love is a Arizona legend. We love Caleb Love, especially Kevin, who's been watching him for, the better part of half his entire life, pretty much at this point.
Kind of crazy, yeah.
Yeah, it is crazy when you think about that. But it was like, I think with Ben Mathurin and Nick Johnson, you're kind of splitting hairs, right? But for some reason, some people don't see it that way, or they just straight up don't like comparing two Arizona Wildcats against one another when it's like, okay, that's fine. It's just a silly little exercise. If it bothers you so much, maybe close the app.
Or
maybe move on.
Yeah, or just don't partake.
Yeah.
That's fine by me, I don't know. I hear whenever you're walking down the street,
it's nuts, man.
You hear so many conversations when you're just walking down the streets of downtown. I don't necessarily feel the need to butt in on those conversations if I don't think I have anything prudent or useful to say about them, right? But my biggest thing was people it's the off season. Did none of you growing up in middle school or high school sit around the lunch table and just be like, dude, if LeBron and MJ played in the same era, this is how it would look. And then your other friend goes, nah, dude, I think it would look like this. And you're just passing time between
That's literally
stuff.
My entire life, Kevin.
Right?
You
and it's just
described
fun.
My whole childhood.
It's just fun. And this is a lot of how people get interested in sports. And I understand that some people might see it as nonsense. Some people might see it as, well, that would never actually happen. You can't get those two on. And that's fine. I get that side of things too. But I don't think it's fair to moan and complain about people in the offseason, honestly reminiscing on some of the greatest Wildcats to ever play for Arizona, because people were acting as if using the word cut was a derogatory term for this talk. When if you were not a legend at Arizona, you weren't making that conversation. So it wasn't really a disrespectful thing to put any of those players on the chopping block, so to speak, because they're only there because it's making us hard to decide which legend is more legendary than the last legend. And yeah, now I know that in the offseason, we can only talk statistical results from last season or seasons prior. No more hypotheticals, no more water cooler talk. And if we hear any of that around the office, Damon, we need to start policing people. Bring out like a clipboard and be like, no, actually, that would never happen. And you see they actually didn't overlap. It's silly. Hypothetical, silly.
Yeah, when the ASU pod starts doing Sam Levitt is the second best quarterback in ASU history, we're gonna have to be like, how dare you compare him to Jaden Daniels and Manny Wilkins and Taylor Kelly? I mean, it's just a different era of basketball. It's disgusting that you would even think that. I was laughing though at June's comment here in the chat saying, how can anyone not like Kevin? And I know that's not what the intention was, but it made it seem like in my head where I was like, well, it makes sense with Damon.
Yeah.
But with Kevin, I mean, what are you doing?
No, yeah. Sometimes my mom and my grandpa try to send compliments to me, but I think they're so tunnel vision on how much they love me. They're just like, yeah, that Damon guy, he's
well,
all right.
I mean, that's another thing. I mean, who cares? But how
Kevin does this podcast and Damon's also there.
I actually agree. Kevin is a sweetheart. I would say if you met me in person, you likely would probably not hate me either.
Damon's a great guy. He's a stand-up dude.
I'm actually pretty easy to get along with in person. I could see how the online persona maybe rubs people that don't like my teams the wrong way, but I would tell that those people that maybe they need to lighten up a little bit in life and take sports a little bit less seriously because this is fun, man. This is why we do it. I make jokes because it's fun for me, and I want people to make jokes back. I love the ASU fans that come in my comments and talk crap. Like what I don't love is when I tweet something about Chick-fil-A sauces and they start losing their mind, sending it in all their little group chats, their little buddy group chats, so that I don't know, like what was so offensive about that to you? But anyways, I mean that I
Chick-fil-A sauce sucks.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And so does Polynesian sauce. But yeah, I mean you know what? Honestly, Kevin, I would honestly call Polynesian sauce disrespectful to Polynesian food. And I know that's a tangent, but like as a man that loves Hawaiian barbecue with all his heart, how dare you, Chick-fil-A? How dare you stain maybe the greatest culinary creation man has seen and woman.
Human has seen.
Yes. And take it away and just say, hey, we're going to make this crap sauce that we're going to give to everybody. Ridiculous.
Yeah, no. And real quick, I feel like we should just go through the exercise here on the pod just to make sure our reasoning is clear, and out there. Just so everyone, if you didn't listen to the first 7.5 minutes of this podcast, we did a start bench cut yesterday with 3 players: Caleb Love, Bennedict Mathurin, and Nick Johnson. So your objective is pretty clear. You have to start one, you have to bench one, and you got to cut one. Tough choices have to be made.
Yep.
And my personal list, I started Nick Johnson, and we'll get into the why and all this in a second. I benched Bennedict Mathurin, but that one was quite literally the splitting of the thinnest of hairs. I'm talking like you're getting old and your hair is thinning, and we're splitting those thin hairs.
It's actually
Mathurin
a really
Johnson.
strong comparison. When you look at their personal accolades, their statistics, everything is almost neck and neck, Kevin. It's pretty impressive to look at.
It's insane. And then I, unfortunately, begrudgingly, heartbrokenly cut my guy, my St. Louisan, Caleb Love. Heartbroken.
Brutal, man.
No love lost, though. That's my guy. That's still my guy. But, yeah, I had to cut him. And Damon,
pun intended.
Exactly. Let's get into your list, and then we can kind of go back and forth about our reasoning.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're kind of on the same page. As you said, you're splitting hairs at the top, and so am I. I'm going Bennedict Mathurin. I think his peak was slightly higher than a Nick Johnson's. And Nick Johnson clearly had the better overall Arizona career, given the fact that he was a starter for 3 seasons and was a part of some really good teams. But I just think Ben Mathurin's sophomore year was so strong that we can't necessarily I don't know. For me, that was one of the probably the 3 best Arizona basketball seasons I've seen by a single player, in my opinion. Derek Williams, easy number 1.
Yeah.
I'd have to kind of divulge that a little bit further, but I really I thought Bennedict Mathurin was truly special in his sophomore season, and that's why I put him at the top. I did that based off of I didn't really look at the stats yesterday when I made my list. I think I'll stick by what I said, and I don't think the statistics necessarily prove me wrong. But that was it. I was kind of solely going off of eye test in the beginning, and I stand by it.
Like you said, we were pretty closely aligned on our list. We both cut Caleb Love. We were both hiding behind our hands as we did it. I chose Nick Johnson as the number 1 slot in my start there. Yeah, I cut Caleb Love. Oh, no.
Who said that? Who said that?
Whoa, that's
I didn't
crazy. It
say
must have
that.
come from out there. I heard someone else say it. I think Connor said it. But no, like I did it because one, Nick Johnson, more longevity at the U of A. I think that there's a little bit of nostalgia there with those Aaron Gordon teams, the Gabe Yorks of it all.
He was
as
on
well.
I think he was on a better team.
Yes.
I mean, I not by a whole lot, because that Arizona team that Bennedict Mathurin was the best player on was the number 2 overall ranking in the AP rankings for essentially the entire season, right? I mean, it took them a while because they began the season unranked because that was Tommy's first season. A lot of people didn't know how they were going to necessarily be. You know, the team sanctioned themselves the year before, but was kind of like a borderline tournament team as is. So I think it was kind of somewhat up in the air how good they were going to be. Once they went through non-conference and basically, didn't they win weren't they undefeated through non-conference?
I believe so.
And then they climbed their way up to number 2 and sustained that for essentially the whole season. And here's what I will say, though. I think that the Pac-12 when Nick Johnson played was a lot better than the Pac-12 when Bennedict Mathurin played. And, I need to look into that a little bit further, but that's just going off of how I felt about the conferences at the time. The Pac-12, especially in Tommy's, years in it, was extremely weak. There was essentially UCLA and nothing. So, and even them, like, they weren't on the same level as Arizona. So I think Arizona had a real shout in that Mathurin year to be the best team in the country. If you remember correctly, Gonzaga and Drew Timme and Jalen Suggs, that team, I believe, was the number 1 team. Maybe it wasn't Jalen Suggs, but it did have Drew Timme on that team. They were number 1 all year. They obviously played in a much weaker conference than Arizona in the West Coast Conference, but I thought that Arizona had a shout to be the best team. When Nick Johnson was in his junior season, Arizona was the best team, in my opinion. They obviously had the Brandon Ashley injury, and that derailed the season. Tough. But, the 2 elite teams is what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
I think they both were probably the best player on both of those teams. I think here's where I went into my reasoning, Kevin, and you could tell me if you think that this is fair or not. I think Nick Johnson was on a better team than Ben Mathurin because I think the people around him had other shouts for being the best player on the team. And that's not to say that I think Nick Johnson was, but I could hear an argument as to why TJ McConnell was.
Yeah.
I really could. And I know the stats aren't going to back that up as much, but I don't think TJ McConnell is the player that you need to look at counting stats for and determine his value on a basketball court. I think that's a guy who, even without Nick Johnson, he would have done the exact same thing that he did, and I think Arizona would have been great still. Also, Aaron Gordon, who was the number 4 overall pick in the draft, is, I've talked about with Koa Pete. Like, I think Ayton, Aaron Gordon, Koa Pete are like kind of like the 3, like physical, insane beast freshmen that came in and you just saw it from the jump, right? And Aaron Gordon was electric, great defender, unreal rebounder. Didn't average as many points as Nick Johnson. I think he averaged around 11 and Nick Johnson averaged like 16.
Yeah,
but
Aaron Gordon averaged 12.5 and Nick Johnson averaged 16.5.
So 2 buckets a game. I mean, I know that's a lot over the course of a season, but Aaron Gordon did some other things. He provided probably a little bit more rim pressure. Nick Johnson was a big rim pressure guy for a guard, but Aaron Gordon is, he plays so above the rim, right? So I feel like, you could make an argument that I could hear you out on that maybe like Nick Johnson wasn't the best player, even though I think he was. But I think Mathurin, like if you tried to tell me Tabellis was the best player, I'd be like, the door's that way. I could maybe talk about Christian Coloco just because of his rim protection and what that brought to the table. But I think Mathurin I think he was more the standout on his team than Nick Johnson was on his team, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I was also going to use the argument of win shares. I think we're kind of touching on this as well. But then you kind of shot a gigantic, buckshot-sized hole in that argument earlier when you kind of alluded to the fact that if you double up the games, they're going to have the same amount of win shares between Johnson and Mathurin. So, like as you alluded to earlier, we are truly splitting hairs with those two. And just kind of to reflect on that 2013-14 team, Sam Alberts in the chat also mentions it. The crazy thing is that you had first-round pick Rondé Hollis-Jefferson coming off the bench to replace Ashley that season as well. There was a lot of depth on that team. There was a lot of really high-level basketball players on that 2013-14 Arizona team. But yeah, like I said, I do have Nick Johnson as my start in that one. But yeah, it was super close between that. And unfortunately, Caleb Love, just didn't have the same peak as those players, in my opinion, in terms of like contributing to his team. But I guess I don't know. You could really make an argument for Caleb Love not getting cut, but I think there are just simply stronger arguments for the list that we have put together. Yeah.
As far as Sam Alberts' comment about the Pac-12 Player of the Year with Nick Johnson, so did Ben Mathurin. To be clear, I already said that I think that the Pac-12 was much stronger when Nick Johnson was there. So take that into account when I say this statement. But I think Kyle Anderson had a real shout to be Pac-12 Player of the Year that year. I think Arizona was just by far the best team, but UCLA ended up winning the conference tournament championship. And Kyle Anderson was a big reason as to why. And Kyle Anderson averaged in his sophomore season at UCLA 14.5, 8.8 rebounds, and 6.5 assists per game, Kevin, which is pretty insane in college. Like that's like an NBA triple-double almost. And he was an All-American as well. I think that, you couldn't realistically make the argument there that Anderson maybe deserved that. But I think that also Mathurin was probably the clear-cut Pac-12 Player of the Year. Again, weaker conference, not as much probably like competition around him and players that were of that caliber. But I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. I mean, you're really looking at the most minuscule of levels because Kevin, you have their stats here, and we should probably get into it now. Like they're neck and neck, man. They really are.
Yeah, no, they are. And honestly, Damon, I do want to get back to our conversation about, our top 5 guards in the 2020s and finishing off this start bench cut conversation. But our guy, Justin Spears, has just broken some news. And I really want to talk about this news, Damon. And this is the news that people need to hear about. The Little League World Series is going on. All right, Damon. And I
thought we were about to have like actually something to talk. I was fired up. I was like, hell yeah, man, we're gonna give me something, Kevin.
People in this office have been downplaying. The evil people we work with have been downplaying the impact of one Tetairoa McMillan, the fame of one Tetairoa McMillan. But
he's a nobody. No one knows who he is.
Surely he's not someone's favorite athlete. Oh, what is this? During the Little League World Series, it seems like we have a player, number 12 here, who was 0 for 1 on the day. Hopefully knocked out, got a little base knock, at least in this at-bat. But as you see there in the little lower third there, you see favorite athlete. What does that say?
Oh, wait, let me rub my eyes for a second. I thought it maybe said Cam Scadabill.
No, it definitely says,
shoot.
Wow.
That says Tetairoa McMillan.
It's almost like one player has like an outsized impact in his culture and in his community and has really left a mark and has opened up doors for others to follow his path. And I think his name's T-Mac. Or Nalo. Or Tetairoa. Certainly not Tet. You know what I mean? I'm all with it.
The Italians in New York are fired up right now, Kevin. You're like, oh, really? Our guy doesn't represent culture? It's insane.
No, yeah. But I saw that on Twitter as I was just scrolling through, and I was like, that's pretty cool. And I wanted to bring it on the pod. But I do want to continue this conversation. We are going to rank the top 5 guards of the 2020s for Arizona Wildcats basketball after this break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. So leave a like, drink your water, don't go anywhere. Damon, as you know, I had a great weekend. And a big reason I had a great weekend was because I spent part of my weekend at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, where I do me and you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. It is the place to be. Whether you want an upscale, fine dining level experience at their A Shula Prime Steakhouse, or if you just want to dive bar it up, get a nice little feel for an affordable drink, but a delicious drink at their like downstairs bar location. If you want to go play table games, high roller, low roller, whatever you want to do, Gila River has it for you. I was there to not only watch UFC 319 in the largest sports book in the state at the BetMGM Sportsbook, but I also was there for the Straight Game podcast because they have some of the best live events, whether it be music, comedy, theatrical performances, whatever it is. They got it.
Was in the house.
Big Diesel was in the house at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, and it was a great time. Mike Bibby, Arizona Wildcats legend, was asking some phenomenal questions. Shaq was dunking on him about the King stuff, but that's neither here nor there. Visit our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, where you do you. Visit playatgila.com for more details.
Damn, man. Not my guy, Mike Bibby.
Yeah, some kid went up there and asked him, like, what's your favorite moment from your NBA career? And he goes, defeating the Sacramento Kings. He said it twice, dude. Two different answers.
That hurts.
Yeah, it hurts. Continue.
That hurts bad, but you know what doesn't hurt? A Branded Bills hat on my head like I got on currently because, my goodness, Kevin, are they comfortable? The most comfortable hats in the business and the absolute premium custom headwear and apparel that you could find, whether you have like a softball team, a charity, a law firm, a small business, a video game organization that you created, you name it, man. Get some custom apparel, t-shirts, headwear from our guys over at Branded Bills. Truckers, fitted beanies, tees. Branded Bills, they have it all, and they, of course, have the campus collection that we have come to love so much. Kevin, I actually have our Phoenix custom hat on right here that represents PHNX Sports, and it is nice and good looking. But, of course, you guys, Arizona fans, are going to have to check out that campus collection down in Tucson, the limited edition campus collection that is only at the bookstore, where they have Arizona baseball, Arizona softball specific hats that Kevin and I thought were so badass. I mean, we love our friends at Branded Bills, and we got a promo code for you. BBPHNX is going to get you 15% off your first order when you head to brandedbills.com and use that promo code of BBPHNX for 15% off your first order.
I got to bring another Branded Bills into the office because since we moved, I don't have all my stuff here as much, anymore. I'm just kind of I'm raw dogging work, so to speak. You know what I mean? And relax. And I haven't got a haircut, as you can see, in like decades. I kind of need a hat. And so I might have to rely on our friends over at Branded Bills here until I can get a nice little chop this weekend, Damon.
I haven't gotten a haircut in decades, Kevin. It's literally been since I think I went to that wedding in Hawaii this summer.
Look at what I got going on here, man. Am I a wolf person? What are we doing? You know what I mean? I got to clean it up, and that's what I'm going to do this weekend. I know, guys. New studio. I can't come in looking like someone let me in. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Damon, I'm excited to get in this top 5, and I'm excited to get a haircut this weekend. That's a fact.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, we do have our top 5 guards that Kevin and I both put together, and our lists are extremely similar, but slightly different. So I think that we'll probably go on our little own individual spiels as to why, Kevin felt the way he did and why I felt the way I did. And I don't think that there will be much of like a super big disagreement on this just because they are so similar. But Kevin, I'll let you start.
Yeah, no, definitely. Shout out to Glenn in our chat, resident Sun Devil that likes to keep up with the Arizona Wildcats stuff. Classic. But he called me Teen Wolf, and I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not really in on that show. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Teen Wolf is badass. Dude.
It is certainly a thing that has been said in our chat, and I wanted to...
He was popular as hell.
Teen Wolf?
Yeah, and he was nasty at basketball.
Oh,
dunking on people's heads.
Was it like a Zac Efron situation where he really wanted to be a werewolf, but he had to be a hooper? Was that what was going on?
No, it was more of like he was a werewolf and he was trying to hide it from the rest of the people that he went to high school with.
Oh, wow. Maybe I'll have to check it out.
But his wolf-like athleticism really made him cook on the basketball court. Teen Wolf would probably be top 5 guards in Arizona basketball 2020's history.
Oh, man. Is Dwayne Aristo the Teen Wolf of Arizona basketball 2025? But this is my top 5 Arizona guards of the 2020s. And you see I got a picture of my guy Caleb Love in there because I had to get him back for cutting him yesterday. I felt like that was unfair. But starting off at number 5, I got Dalen Terry. And now of the players that we looked at for this list, I felt like there were 4 really solid Sharpie 'em in candidates in my opinion. Those being my top 4. And then Dalen Terry was the best of the rest, so to speak, in my opinion. I think overall, he went out strong, leading scorer in that Houston elimination game in March Madness. Went pro because of his two-way capabilities and his overall frame and athleticism. And he's now the lead recruiter for Arizona, and that gets him some bonus points on my list. I don't know about you guys in the chat, but that gives him some bonus points. He's helping us get top-level recruits, continuing that the Valley representation for Arizona basketball. Moving on to my number 4, I have Pelle Larsson. He had a great total overall game, and I think his development really is a testament to what this program can provide a player. He has now gone pro, and he has become Damon can speak to this better than me, but I believe he's like a fan favorite in a way for the Miami Heat organization. Maybe I'm wrong, and he'll correct me on that when I get done with my list here. Moving in the top 3, Jaden Bradley. Do I really need to explain too much as to why Jaden Bradley is in the top 3 of this list? He is a complete point guard, and it's hard to say that in the modern era. I mean, he's about as true of a point guard as you can get in the modern era. He's not going to average 10 assists, but I think he is the personification of a on-court coach, and I think we're going to see that in 2025, especially with this improved roster around him. He is completely reliable. He doesn't have as high of a peak as a player as I think Caleb Love and Bennedict Mathurin did, and that is for why he is in my third slot and not my second or first slot. If he, like, let's say he just absolutely went crazy in that Clemson game and carried Arizona to a victory in a game that they really did not deserve to win, as they obviously lost, maybe he does come in higher. But number 2 is Caleb Love. And now, obviously, we're looking at this through the frame of what they were able to do at Arizona, but I would be remiss to not even consider how high level of a player Caleb Love is. The man has played at the highest possible level of college basketball multiple times, and I think that when he came to Arizona, he really helped continue a high level of play for the Wildcats. And having that guy at the guard position like Caleb Love, who can just go nuclear on any given night, his peak is there are not many players from the guard position consistently in college basketball who can have a higher peak than Caleb Love when he was playing.
That's very true.
Except for maybe Bennedict Mathurin. And so I think that Bennedict Mathurin came into my number 1 spot because I felt like his skill set was overall better than Caleb Love's for the majority of Caleb Love's time at Arizona. I said this to you off air. I think that Caleb Love, by the time he left Arizona, was probably a more complete guard than Bennedict Mathurin was during his time at Arizona. However, I think we've seen the best of. I think we saw the best of Caleb Love. Bless you. And I don't even believe that we really saw the best of Bennedict Mathurin at Arizona. We saw a very good version, but I don't think that we saw the best version. And so for those reasons, I do have my list as follows. I'll throw it back up there one more time. In the 1 spot, Bennedict Mathurin. In the 2 spot, Caleb Love, Jaden Bradley, Pelle Larsson, and Dalen Terry. Rolling and rounding out my top 5 guards of the 2020s.
I like
and Glenn, I don't know, why Mathurin wears Hardens every game. I get that they're a cool shoe. I get that Harden's like into the fashion stuff. And
are Adidas cool shoes?
I think so, actually. I think it's an underrated brand. But anyway.
For basketball?
I'm not saying they're elite.
No,
I'm not saying they're elite. It must have been the Crazy 8, but to be honest.
That was when Kobe was a rookie, dog.
I love Bennedict Mathurin, and my main point with this is I love Bennedict Mathurin, but it always confounded me how you could go to the U of A and still rep Hardens every game. It blows my mind. But Damon, please give your list.
That's all good. There's gonna be ASU football players rocking T-Mac cleats later in the future, so it's gonna be chill. No worries. And maybe they could rock the Cam Scattaboo Jersey Mike's commercials too while they're at it, because that's the level we're talking about here.
You know what?
Getting your own cleat versus being in a Jersey Mike's commercial.
The T-Mac cleat called the Nalo would go so hard. Nalo 1, Nalo 2, Nalo 3, and then Nalo 4, you put the 4 instead of the A, and now it's like, 4 low. It's so fire. Anyway, yeah, we got to get on to it. We got to get on to the list.
My list here is extremely similar, but I did find one thing that you said interesting, and that is, you're writing 4 in Sharpie, because I think Pelle Larsson and Dalen Terry are extremely comparable when you're talking about their specific peaks at Arizona. I know Pelle Larsson had a better Arizona career, and that wasn't what I did on this list. That was not my basis of this list that Kevin and I talked about. It's kind of a combination of the two. But I think peak is probably most important for me when I was going about this. And I think here's what I'll say about Pelle Larsson, and you can bring it back on me for a second, Kevin. I think Pelle Larsson is the ultimate Tommy Lloyd success story.
Yeah. Tommy Testament.
You bring in Tommy Lloyd, brought in a guy he believed in that no Arizona fan had on their radar / truly wanted in the portal. Kind of was hit on paper, looked kind of mid at Utah the year before. I mean, I think we were trying to trust our new coach, so it's not like people were like, "Oh, no way." But I think this was seen as a little bit more of a Cedric Henderson, Courtney Ramey type of pickup, and it ended up being much more than that, right? Yeah. Because Pelle Larsson is truly just such a jack of all trades and such a balanced basketball player. You see here on the statistics, 10 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game. Really, really efficient shooting at almost 50% field goal percentage, 38.5% from 3, and did so in over 100 games played for Arizona. Pelle Larsson had one of the better Arizona careers in recent memory. I think Dalen Terry in his one season at Arizona was a little bit better. That's the only, like, I just think that Dalen Terry's profile, his combination of size plus playmaking plus defensive ability, he kind of had the KJ Lewis role of past year's team, where he was really defending the best player on every team night in and night out. I think Pelle Larsson did that later in his career as well. So I'm not trying to take that away from him, but I don't know that he was the defensive stopper that I think Dalen Terry was. Like, Dalen Terry's job was to bring the ball up the court, like, run some pick and roll, find the right open pass, and just lock in on defense. And I think Pelle Larsson's role was kind of be the glue guy that fits everything together. So it depends really how you value those things. I went with Dalen Terry just because Dalen Terry played 2 years. That's on me, but I went with Dalen Terry because I just think he was a better defender at his highest level. He averaged 4 assists per game, Kevin, in his second season at Arizona, which at a 6'7" height is insane in college basketball. And he wasn't a bad scorer. Like, 8 points per game is okay. So I think that it's really, really close with those guys. I don't know how you feel about that breakdown, if I maybe moved you a little bit towards my side or not, but do you still feel that Dalen Terry doesn't necessarily belong next to Pelle Larsson when having this discussion?
I don't think that they necessarily, like, when I said that I had 4 names sharpied in and that Dalen Terry was kind of the best of the rest, it wasn't that I don't think Dalen Terry belongs next to Pelle Larsson. I do think that there's an argument you can make for Pelle to be above Dalen Terry. In fact, you just made the argument right there. But I think, like, in my opinion, I'll put it like this. There was no world in which I leave my top 4 guys here off this list.
Yeah.
So in that mindset, they were sharpied in. I don't think it's psychotic to have Dalen Terry ahead of Pelle Larsson or, like, wrong.
Well, I hope not. My goodness.
Or whatever, like you have here. But I will say that
psychotic is crazy.
I think that for the way I was viewing this list, and if we look back at Pelle Larsson's time at Arizona, I just think that his overall contributions in his well-roundedness, I know that Dalen Terry was an extremely well-rounded player as well in his level of contribution and what he did. But I think Pelle Larsson in that 23-24 season, averaging almost 13 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, almost a steal a game. I think he was, and like Sam says in the chat, our Swedish Army knife. I really love that. I wish we had a pod during that time. I would have been abusing that nickname. But I really do. That weighs a lot into my contribution. I think that he contributed, albeit slightly, but he contributed more to winning at Arizona than Dalen Terry did. And I love Dalen Terry. I remember when I was on campus when Dalen Terry was playing, he was one of my favorite players to watch across the country. The energy he played with, the kind of for the same reasons I ended up liking KJ Lewis as a player, right? Like just the 100 miles an hour a minute, you know what I mean, kind of thing, and always playing at full energy. So I respected Dalen Terry's game, but I do think Pelle Larsson overall could do more things on a court than Dalen Terry during their time at Arizona. And for that reason, I had that top 4 solidified, and then Dalen Terry was by far the best of the rest of them.
Yeah, Dalen Terry in his sophomore season had 4.5 win shares that year. That beats Pelle Larsson's first 2 years at Arizona, but misses out on beating him in his senior season at Arizona by 0.3, Kevin. So again, I mean, I think it's real close. I could really see an argument either way. And I think Pelle Larsson is a fantastic player that fits on every single basketball team in existence. There's not a team that couldn't find a way to fit in a Pelle Larsson, right? And that's why a team like the Miami Heat coveted him, is because they said, this could be a really good rotation player that we could get in the second round, because people are undervaluing him because maybe his ceiling isn't extremely high, but he is athletic. He can defend at a high level. He is a decent playmaker. He does hit his shots. Like, it just made it, I think that he was undervalued by draft circles because of a lack of perceived ceiling, but truly he really is just a really well-balanced all-around player. In a way that Dalen Terry is not, right? And Dalen Terry went almost in the lottery because that profile is so crazy. Having a 6'7" guy who ball handles like a point guard and is kind of the leading playmaker on the offensive side. Like, he was a better passer than Kerr Kriisa was in his sophomore season at Arizona. Here's Dalen Terry's stats for his Arizona career: 6.6 points, 4.2 rebounds, 2.9 assists, 47.7% from the field, which is actually, I think, pretty impressive given his lack of maybe perceived bag while he was here at Arizona. But
and also his lack of like outside shot to my memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I put Dalen Terry above Pelle Larsson. And, maybe there's an element of just trying not to be the exact same as Kevin, but that also almost came in here, Kevin. And this is going to ruffle some feathers. I almost put Jaden Bradley above Caleb Love.
Okay, speak on it.
And the reason why is because, and I think it had a lot to do with a statement you made when talking up Caleb Love earlier.
Uh-oh.
Caleb Love's ceiling and his peak is about as high as you can get in college basketball. When Caleb Love is on, he might even be better than Bennedict Mathurin when he's on. Like, that dude when he's on fire, he's on fire. Yes.
A problem.
But he was pretty inefficient last year at Arizona.
True.
And Jaden Bradley was Mr. Consistency. Every game, 11, 12 points. Good, I'd say actually elite defense for a point guard.
Yeah.
Good playmaking. He doesn't have the outside scoring ability. And the stats aren't going to, jump off the screen at you when you look at 9.5 points per game. Granted, one of those years was, he was kind of the sixth man of the team. So
and of that 73 games played, he's only started like 30 something.
Yeah. So. And so his starting stats probably matter a little bit more. And Caleb Love, you look at his stats, if we want to compare him here, and obviously that's a lot more points per game. It's more assists, it's more rebounds too, but it's obviously, lower field goal percentage. The points per game, definitely a lot higher. I know that's what Caleb Love's job is, and I know that's his role. But I don't know, man. I just think Jaden Bradley, maybe I'm just kind of basing this off of last year, but I said the whole year last year I thought Jaden Bradley was the best player on the team. And I just thought he was the most consistent throughout the entire season. And he always showed up. And there was never really a game where I was like, man, Jaden Bradley really let you down in this game. But you could say that about Caleb Love quite a few times from last season. And I know that that's kind of their roles, and that's always going to be Caleb Love's kind of spot to be in, right? Because he is a scorer. He is a volume shooter. Like, if he's not hitting his shots, he's going to keep shooting, and it's probably not going to look super pretty. But I just think that the consistency of Jaden Bradley needs to be spoken about. I really, really considered putting Jaden Bradley over Caleb Love here. I think it's closer than the stats would show you. I really do think it is. But I decided to go Caleb Love above him just because, as you said, I think Caleb Love's best play that he can give you is better than Jaden Bradley's best play, just because that, a guy who's going to score 30 points in a game is just Jaden Bradley can't do that. He can't do that. But he can do a lot of other things better than Caleb Love as well.
That's an interesting conversation. Because it's kind of more about almost what you value. In a guard, right? Because if you don't value the high volume scoring, but without some of the rest of the guard stuff, then you might honestly agree with Damon and have Caleb Love it too.
And Caleb improved his defense tenfold last season. So I don't want to sit here and be like he wasn't a well-rounded player, but I truly do value two-way players at a very, very high level. Like a guy who's not a liability on defense in particular, or on offense. If in Jaden Bradley's case, he's a better defender than he is an offensive player, and vice versa for Caleb Love. So I think you're right. It is about what you value. Because
I was gonna say, making the argument for Caleb Love, I think that Jaden Bradley is not tasked with the responsibility of being a leading scorer. He is more free to do the other guard stuff, play a super high level of defense, facilitate the offense, because you have a guy like Caleb Love there to take that scoring load off your shoulders. And I think we've seen at multiple times this past season where if Caleb Love was not on fire, it became really difficult, right, on Jaden Bradley, because he was not having that attention taken off of him, the load taken off of him from a scoring and facilitation standpoint. And I'm not saying Jaden Bradley can't handle life without Caleb Love. That's not at all what I'm saying. But I think in terms of this argument of who should be ranked higher in the top 5 guards of the 2020s, I think there was more pressure on Caleb Love to produce high volume, productive stat nights every night. And Jaden Bradley's job was and I think this is probably harder to do, but I think, and there's a responsibility to it, but Jaden Bradley's job is to facilitate the offense, make sure nothing burns down, and help Caleb Love, be free, right? But I think that there's a little bit of a gap in terms of what the expectations are and the responsibilities were. And I think that kind of, in my opinion, helps Caleb Love's argument for being second over Jaden Bradley. But I do think it's a good conversation, a better conversation than I would have given it credit for pre-show. If you had been like, should Jaden Bradley be above Caleb Love? I probably would have been like, what? No. You know what I mean? But when you lay it out like that, I think there actually is more of an argument in terms of what you value in a guard, right?
Excuse me. Man.
Getting emotional.
I am getting emotional just thinking about it. I think part of my factoring into this conversation as well, Kevin, has to do with tournament performances. And that's not to say Caleb Love didn't perform in the tournament ever, because I was talking about with you off air. He deserved that Duke win, man. And Caleb Love's legacy would be, not that it isn't great already, but could you imagine if he eliminated Cooper Flagg, the number 1 pick, and Duke with maybe their greatest team they've ever had?
Maybe one of college basketball's greatest teams.
Yeah, and in his final season, he eliminates Duke again. Like, he would be the Duke killer of all time. And that would, reign throughout history for forever, right? But I think Jaden Bradley was just more consistent in the tournament as well. You look at the 2023-2024 season, he only scored 8 against Long Beach State in the first round, but I think that's because he came off the bench and, the starters weren't struggling necessarily in that game as much. Kylan Boswell was doing fine. But then you go into the Dayton game, and Jaden Bradley plays 27 minutes out of the 40, and he scores 12 points off the bench, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, 3 steals, 6 stocks from a point guard in that game.
I missed
from
the stock
Jaden
market,
Bradley.
Man.
I missed the stock market too, brother. Basketball season, look up how many days away.
I got you.
But then you go into the Clemson game, in that Sweet 16 game, and if you remember correctly in that game, Caleb Love was brutal in that game. And that's kind of what I'm talking about, right? Like, as much as you got the good, you also got the bad along with it. And in this case, it was to a performance of Caleb Love's standpoint of 35 minutes played, 5 for 18 shooting from the field, 0 for 9 from 3, Kevin, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 3 turnovers, and 13 points scored in the game. Jaden Bradley in that game off the bench, 25 minutes played, 4 for 9 shooting, 2 for 4 from 3. And I think that bears noting. The guy's not a 3-point shooter, but when it comes tournament time, he steps up and he shoots the 3 ball at a decent rate. And he's a gamer, man.
Yeah.
8 of 9 from the free throw line in that game, Kevin. Just taking it to the rack. He was the only player that seemed like he wanted the ball in his hands. 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. So three more stocks for Jaden Bradley in that game. And had 18 points scored off the bench as the leading scorer on the entire team. Then you look into the 2024-2025 postseason and the tournament. Then Jaden Bradley, first round against Akron, 19 points. Next round against Oregon, 12 points. Next round against Duke, 15 points. Not only is he Mr. Consistency, but when he gets to the postseason, he takes it up a level. Even when he's coming off the bench. And he takes it up a level, but he continues. He doesn't have bad games. He shows up in the big moments. And I think that, not to say Caleb Love doesn't, it's just more volatile. There are moments where he doesn't. So that's where I'm at, Kevin. I just think that Jaden Bradley, like, part of that for me is the postseason stuff. He just consistently shows up in all the big games, in my opinion. And that's part of the reason why I kind of was leaning that way, but I ultimately went with Caleb Love because I agree with you. I think ultimately just his ceiling was a bit higher than Jaden Bradley's. But it's, I mean, again, dude, we're talking about great basketball players here. And then, of course, Bennedict Mathurin, number 1.
Yeah.
And that's known. I think everybody would agree with that for the most part. 14.8 points per game in his Arizona career, 5.3 rebounds, 2 assists, 45.6% from the field, 38.3% from 3, and 63 games played 2 seasons for Ben Mathurin. I just think, that sophomore year he had was so special. And another guy who showed up in the tournament. I mean, I know he wasn't great against Houston, and we were talking about that with Dalen Terry, but that TCU, I mean, we lose in the second round if it wasn't for Bennedict Mathurin because he carried that Arizona team on his back against TCU. Him and Christian Coloco just cooking Eddie Lampkin's bum ass.
I was going to say, like, dude, additionally, not Dalen Terry, but yes, Dalen Terry. But Bennedict Mathurin gave us, like, a lifelong memory with that Eddie Lampkin dunk. I'll never forget it, right?
No.
So I think that's also part of it.
That's one of the, I'll never forget dunking on the ops' head like that. That's ingrained in my head forever.
Yeah, man. It's an insane.
It's like Xavier Johnson from and this might have been a little bit before your time, Kevin, but there was this forward on Colorado named Xavier Johnson. And before Arizona was about to play them, he was like, I forgot exactly what he was saying. Maybe Sam remembers. He seems to have a pretty good memory about this stuff, but he was like talking crap about Arizona before the game for like no reason in his like availability and like kind of just put like, you know, the game up, like made a target for the Arizona players. And then Aaron Gordon just posterized him. Yeah. And it was just special, just beautiful stuff.
That sounds special and very beautiful. Also, I did say it in the chat, but I will give an update. We have 75 days, 12 hours, 13 minutes, and 0 seconds until Arizona faces Florida. I am very excited. And yes, football is like literally next week, but we know it's next week. It's a known days away kind of thing. I didn't know how many days of basketball we had or how many days until we had basketball back in our lives, Damon. And you and I are going to wrap up our top 5 conversation and talk some Arizona news and notes on the other side of this break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Drink your water, leave a like, don't go anywhere. And during this break, I got to talk to you guys about our friends at Circle K, folks. Circle K is there for you. I was saying this on the Mercury podcast last night. If no one in your life has your back, Circle K will be there for you. I went to Circle K, hit up the beer section this weekend, found some nice IPAs, brand redacted from our friends over at Circle K, and they had a wide variety. Honestly, I went in there not expecting a huge variety because it's a gas station, right? Like, you're not expecting a liquor store in there, but they did have a wide variety of beers, and they had a wide variety of sodas, juices, waters, all that type of stuff, snacks for after you get your little drinky drink on if you want it. And if you're not getting a drinky drink on and you just want to visit America's thirst stop to fuel up, you can do that. And if while you're at the pump, you want to join that Inner Circle Rewards program, you can do just that. Because with the Inner Circle Rewards program, you can save 25 cents off per gallon on your first handful of fill-ups, and that is a real chunk of change. And on August 21st, that is in 2 days, y'all, from 6 a.m. to midnight, Circle K will be having an Inner Circle Fuel Day where registered participants only can use their phone number to receive 40 cents off per gallon at participating locations. So if you have not already, make sure to sign up for that Inner Circle. Join the Inner Circle for free today by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details.
Kevin, I'm going to have to take advantage of that fuel day because 40 cents off per gallon.
That's a serious chunk of change.
That's no joke, my man. Mm-hmm. That is no joke.
Grab a $1 cookie too while you're at it.
And another thing that was no joke was this move, Kevin, that we had to make happen because, my God, man, dude, we have a lot of stuff in this studio, right? Like you're talking all types of desks, all types of furniture. We got desks in here. We got desk right there. We got desks out in the common areas in every office. We got 4 in here in the production office. I mean, there's all types of stuff that we needed to lug, and thank goodness we didn't have to do it ourselves because we had 2 men and a truck. Maybe it was 4 men in 2 trucks. 4 men, 2 trucks for your boys here at PHNX Sports and gals. But 2 men in a truck, they just made this move so simple for us, so easy. We didn't really have to worry about, lugging in the big, scary stuff. All we had to do was pack up our little things, make it a little bit easier on them, and then they moved all the boxes for us. We just threw everything in a bunch of boxes, taped them up, and they said, "Cool, we'll have them in your office, by the end of the day." It was crazy. We were over, Kevin, so we were over helping trying to get this studio ready to go, right? Yeah. On Friday. And on Friday morning, they started the move at 8 a.m. and we went over to the other studio, our old studio, at 11 a.m. and the place was a ghost town. 3 hours is all it took for them to move an entire office space of furniture and get it over to the new office. They're quick, they're fast, they're efficient, and they're one of the cheapest options that you could find out there. Hit up 2 Men in a Truck if you need a move. Call this number 480-991-1805 or go to 2menscottsdale.com to 2 Men in a Truck, the movers who care. Learn more about their storage solutions as well. They also have some storage that you can get up and a part of. So love our friends at 2 Men in a Truck, and we thank them so dearly for making our move easy and not making it where we had to go lug everything and get all sore and make our backs hurt for a week of hard podcasting, Kevin. Because we all know you need those bodies fresh to be talking on a mic.
I mean, it's us and the coal miners is what I've heard. Podcasters and the coal miners have the two most physically, and like oil rig people have three most physically demanding jobs on planet Earth. I guess you could throw fighters in there as well if you're of that ilk. I don't know, but we have it tough.
It's basically the same thing.
We have it tough sitting here having water cooler talk every day and being
it's like crab fishermen, like on Deadliest Catch.
Oh yeah, dude.
Like that's in the
those guys have it easy
compared to us. Yeah,
oh,
I mean, my God,
we got to put up with Noah Wolbrecht every day.
That's actually true.
That's an unbelievable thing we got to do.
That takes a bit of a mental toll.
We got to put up with Sun Devils in our office. We got to put up with...
Even the U of A people in our office are Sun Devils.
Honestly, we are... Real quick, you and I, honestly... And I'm not even...
Dude, we are the Jon Snow gift.
Yes. Dude, when I got here, when I got hired here a year and 4 days ago, I literally... I'm not a big rival guy. Like, I'm really not. You
didn't hate ASU at all.
No, because I don't hate any of my rivals, really. I'm a Blues fan, and the Blackhawks, I don't like them. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't hate their guts. I'm a Cardinals fan. I don't hate the Cubs' guts. But, like, working here, I've never hated ASU more. Yeah. It's like a virus. And I think you and I don't know what it is, have the antidote, and we've injected ourselves, and we're clear. We're good. We're ready to fight the good fight forever. But working up here and working around some Sun Devils, it really is fighting the good fight. And I would invite any coal miner in the world, any oil rigsman in the world to come on this podcast and tell us that it's not more difficult to deal with Anthony Totri and Eric Ruby than to go dig for coal or play with oil or whatever they're doing out there. You know what I mean? I'm joking, by the way.
I agree with you. I implore any crab fisherman to try to stay one day in the pocket with ASU fans celebrating their Peach Bowl runner-up trophy. Their Peach Bowl runner-up championship.
But yeah, no. We don't have the hardest job in the world. In fact, we have a pretty easy job, and it's really fun. But
it is. But
we are the Jon Snow.
It is funny. It is funny from your perspective, Kevin, of like, I remember like when we first started this podcast,
we would argue about it.
I was like, I don't know how this is gonna work.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna have to Kevin's gonna be sitting up here being like, man, how could you hate Kenny Dillingham? Like isn't he just the best? And like I'm gonna be like on a U of A podcast being like,
yeah,
but
yeah.
It's really happened pretty fast and naturally for you to let the hate consume you. And I don't want to take credit for that. Maybe I have a little bit to do with it, but mostly I think it's the attitudes.
They do it to themselves.
And actions of all of those around us, including our own Wildcats brethren.
They've been infected.
Espo and Leah.
Espo, they've both been infected. I'm not going to say it too loud. I know we have a lot of space, but they still might hear me. They've been infected with the Sun Devil virus, and it's a fact.
It hurts.
I know there's people out there that don't think me and Damon are fighting the good fight, but trust me, folks.
Oh, my God.
Every day,
if
we hear some BS about the Wildcats, we are fighting tooth and nail. Tooth and nail to set the record straight.
You want to tell me I'm not fighting for the Wildcats? Look at this bad boy.
It's beautiful,
right here.
Isn't it? It's so beautiful.
I told our guy Eric, not Eric Ruby, Eric who does our helps build our sets for ALLCITY Network. I told him, I said, I want this bad boy front and center where everybody has to see it.
And we got our logo there too. And we got the logo there. I love it, Damon. I love it. Truly, I do. I saw people on Twitter being like, oh, the only national championship is Arizona's.
Kevin, what matters more, a basketball national championship or almost beating Texas in the Peach Bowl?
Basketball national championship, not even close.
I don't know. It's pretty close, dude.
Yeah.
They almost won.
Yeah.
Almost beating Texas.
But
they almost won.
We won a conference championship.
Y'all just had a show, I thought.
We won a conference championship.
Y'all just had a show. And
it's crazy.
I think
Texas thing is crazy.
Is it a conference championship is the same level as a national championship, in your opinion?
I mean, I just heard you bashing on ASU, so I figured I'd come to the
No, we're just saying that our only national championship displayed in the mural is rightfully the 1997 Arizona Basketball National Championship, and there's not a image of a near appearance in any sort of game for you guys.
I just said that the Peach Bowl runner-up trophy, what would you value higher, the Peach Bowl runner-up trophy or...
taking a Big 12 championship.
Anthony Totri just said he'd rather have a Big 12 championship than a what, Damon? That's tough. That's tough, dude.
A Big 12 championship is better than a national championship. These guys will say anything and believe it. This is nuts. This is nuts. We cut down the nets, Kevin. The nets.
Yeah, see? It's a virus, dude. I'm telling you. That's a virus.
They beat Iowa State and Rocco backed.
All right. I think we got to get our last topic before Damon has an aneurysm, and we can get him medical attention and psychological treatment
Kentucky
after the show. News and notes, Damon. News and notes. Let's focus. Woo-saw. See, he came in here and infected the show. That's what happened.
I love Anthony Totri. He's my sweet dear friend.
Good guy.
And
bad choices of school.
Yes.
Yeah. JCM, a.k.a. Bill, a.k.a. what could have cost Arizona a bowl game in 2024? I don't know. He was playing against Gary Brightwell last night on Monday Night Football in the Arizona, or not the Arizona preseason game, but it was an Arizona preseason game because all of Tucson was probably locked in on this game. And if you weren't, I don't know what to tell you. Someone in my replies was like, dude, it's preseason. I'm not watching preseason. And I was like, there's literally nothing better to do than to watch JCM versus Gary Brightwell on like a Monday night in August. I think there's nothing better. But he did score in that game. He has 70 yards on 18 carries and 3 passes received for 8 yards this preseason. Hit his little dance in the end zone, forgot the touchdown ball. Jaden Daniels had to go bring it to him and be like, bro, this is your first. You should probably keep this one. And I think that, I love to see two guys that just hate ASU together on the national stage. That is my get down, and I am all about it. So shout out to JCM. Also, I had a question for you, David. Since his name is now Bill, is he still JCM? Or do we need to make an amendment to BCM? It doesn't really have the same flow. And I don't know if he would not like that we do the JCM thing because it's pretty much just saying Jacory. It's the same thing. So are you going to start calling him BCM? Is he JCM or is he Bill Croskey-Merritt to you?
He's Bill Croskey-Merritt, but JCM. Is that fair?
No, that's fact. That's what I've been doing.
We might have to change that up depending. I mean, it's fluid. If his star outweighs, and he starts being like, it's not JCM, then we'll listen. But I did think it was funny, kind of the dichotomy of like T-Mac. I saw a tweet that was like Tedero McMillan : call me Tederoa because that's what my mom wants me to be called. And then it was like Jacory Croskey-Merritt, call me Bill. Do not call me Jacory, what my mom named me.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious.
And they're both Arizona Wildcats, of course. So, we're blessed to have both those baby boys representing our university. But JCM, man, looks good. Looks real good. I know like the hype train is really rolling now, but
with the Brian Robinson news, the cat is out of the bag. It's no longer a secret with JCM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. It's hopefully he gets that opportunity. I think at the very least he's going to be in the rotation to receive carries this year. Even if Brian Robinson doesn't get traded, they're really gonna give him some run as a rookie, which is cool to see despite his kind of disastrous end to his college football career.
This is tough because I'm putting you on the spot here, and we only have like a minute and a half left in the show, and we can maybe flesh this out on tomorrow's pod a little further with hopefully Justin Spears if he's free and available. Is this like how do I say this? Pound for pound, like the most hyped that Arizona football fans have been for like an NFL season as it relates to their alumni in the league in a while? Because you have Tyler Loop as a rookie, you have JCM, you have T-Mac.
You do have and Jonah. You have all those players, which
Jordan
is
Morgan.
Really cool. But I will say that I think specifically that's a T-Mac thing because you have a top 10 player at a position that is incredibly fun to watch. Receivers are some of the stars of the league, right? And the best receivers are so loud and jump off the page at you so much because they have the ball in their hands. Like I really do think that that is kind of why more so than the collective. I think it really just has to boil down to T-Mac and his abilities and who he is as a player, to be honest.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it and I was like, this is for certain the most excited I've been.
The most Wildcats we've had in the league in a long time.
Yeah, that's and I was trying to think if there's been like
since the Stoops days. I mean, you could go back to Gronk and Nick Foles and be like, it's pretty hard to beat
really
Super Bowl MVP QB and the guy who was a part of the greatest dynasty in NFL history as probably the second most notable player on that entire team throughout that process. So I don't know. I think that those two, like, it's hard to really beat that because Nick Foles and Gronk were so influential. But yeah, I mean, I think I would say it's the most hype we've been since Stoops teams. Like, it definitely beats all the Rich Rod teams. It definitely beats all the, like the early Fish days and the Kevin Sumlin days, no doubt, and all that stuff where they were putting almost no players in the league. So I'm hyped.
Yeah, no, I'm super hyped, and that's kind of what spawned the question, is because I'm like, dude, I can't remember the last time I was excited for an NFL season as it relates to Arizona Wildcats alumni in the league, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a great time. I know we didn't have a good year last year football-wise as an Arizona fan base, but this year, hopefully it should look fun and be fun, and we get to watch pros at the same time. I'm all about this. I think the vibes are really going to be good this year as a whole, right? Because you have Arizona football improving, hopefully. Arizona basketball, national title expectations, low-key. I'm going to say it. National title expectations. I was talking to Eric about that today. I was like, I kind of expect them to, be a preseason Final Four contender, and that's just what it is. And if they don't,
they're going to rank. They're going to rank as 17th in the preseason poll, right?
Realistically, they're going to give us like 12.
I think it'll be low. I think it'll be closer to my number than your number.
Really?
Yep.
Should we put like a little fiver on that? That could be fun. I don't know. We'll talk about this off the show.
We'll put a bet on it.
Yeah,
I mean,
that'd be fun.
I think we should do something. Maybe you actually have to pay up on your bet that you owe me.
Yeah. No. You know what? I know it sounds empty words until it happens, but my plan is to have the heart cut into my head for the first couple post games of basketball season, so it feels like I'm actually paying off. Because honestly, it hit me about halfway through the offseason that, one, not only have I not done it yet, two, does it really count the same if I do it in the offseason where like not as many people are paying attention, and you really want that bet to pay off when people are tuning back in for basketball. So I think yes, I should have paid up earlier, and hey, hand up accountability. That's on me. That's on me, chat. And Damon.
I don't know. And also, have you seen Anthony Totri, Eric Ruby, and Shane Diefenbach in Arizona shirts yet?
No,
because I don't know. That one's kind of escaping me as well. I don't remember if they paid up on their end of that. They never did either. I guess, hey, Damon wins bets around here, and people just decided they don't have to do what they actually put on the line. But whatever. Kevin, that's going to do it for our show today. It is. You can follow Kevin at KevoPost. That's KEVOPOSTS. You can follow me at Damon Dog. That's Damon DAWG. And you can follow us at PHNX_Wildcats, where you'll get us just horrifically and disrespectfully pinning up all legendary Wildcats against each other. Or, depending on your perspective, maybe you like the conversation and you want to be involved in it. So, follow that account if you dare. If you got the
intestinal fortitude,
100%. It's a good way of putting it, Kevin. And of course, follow us at PHNX_sports on our main account as well, so you can get angry at Espo's next graphic that he puts out there. But give us those follows, subscribe to the channel, like this video if you haven't done so already, and we will catch you on tomorrow's Wednesday edition of the AZ Wildcats pod at 2 p.m. So make sure that you guys are there. We're going to bring on our guy Justin Spears tomorrow to give us all of the news and notes regarding Arizona football fall camp and what he's been seeing over the course of the last week. Can't wait for that. Be there 2 p.m. tomorrow. But until then, peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. No hypotheticals allowed.
We all silly like the mayor.